My name's Lee and I'm a compulsive overeater. And as ever, I'm really, really grateful to be here. And thanks, Anik, for inviting me to give a main share. Um, I had a bit of nerves in the week because I feel like, I've shared quite a bit with my early bird friends over the years, and I got a bit stuck on what to share. And I just prayed on it. I took it to my higher power and was guided to give you a quick snapshot into what life was like when I was in the food and what it's like now, and then to really focus on some of the practicalities of abstinence and recovery and what does it look like day to day, like what do we need to do to get well. So if you are a newcomer, massive, massive welcome to you. Really happy that you're here. If my story doesn't resonate with you, please just keep coming back because you will meet people who open their mouths and are telling your story. And when that happens, it's incredible because then we also know that we can get well. So what it was like in a nutshell, I was a very obese adult. I was an overweight, fat child. And that continued throughout my adult life. I never really lost much weight. I was way better at finding it than losing it. And the weight just went on and on over the years. And if any friends here have lived in a much larger body, you might recognize like the shame that I felt from being very overweight. Like I would take up 2 seats when I got on a bus. People wouldn't want to sit next to me. It was hard to keep myself clean and not smelly. I've broken multiple chairs and 2 beds. Like I broke furniture in really embarrassing and shameful situations. Um, and I lived my life in what felt like a much older body. I was very slow. I was out of breath. I wasn't healthy. I had terrible skin. And I had a very sporty, much loved child who I couldn't keep up with him. My life was pretty miserable and I hit my early 40s and I just thought I was going to die. I couldn't see a way out. I just thought I'm just going to get ill and my life is going to be short. So I really hit a rock bottom. Um, what it's like now is really, truly beyond my wildest dreams. I didn't know this life was possible for me. So the numbers are I've lost 120 pounds. So I've gone from being a size 26 in UK dress sizes to a size 16. Um, the food is quiet. The food is really quiet. Like food is not the main part of my life anymore. Like life is there to be lived, which is amazing. I have a quality of life that I just didn't have before. I play sport with my kid. My relationships have massively, massively improved. I have really deep, true friendships, both in fellowship and outside of fellowship. My relationships with my family are transformed. Um, and my health is much, much better. And the unexpected consequence was that my skin's really clear. From a month after I stopped eating any sugar, my skin cleared up and I've never had a spot since. It's really, really remarkable. Um, and my life is full of joy. That's not to say that it's joyful every day. I still have a job. I still have people in my life who are difficult. Life happens, and I've been through some really tough stuff in the last 3.5 years of abstinence and recovery. But I have the tools, I have the steps, I have the program um, to help me get through and to help me always pause, pray, and take the next right action. So that's the nutshell of where I was and where I am. And I was thinking about like how I got here and what it really took. And I just wanted to talk about 3 of the elements of the program. The first is about abstinence, like we put the food down. I can't say that clearly enough. We need to put the food down. The second is we need to find a God of our own understanding. And the third is we need to pay it forward, pay it back, however you want to say it. We need to give what has been freely given us. And that's how we stay well. So I just wanted to get real about putting the food down and what that took for me and what it was like. And I was sponsored with a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And there's a really important chapter in there called The Doctor's Opinion. It's really worth reading if you haven't read it. I'm sure many, many of you have. But it gives a clear explanation of the physical allergy and the mental twist. So for me, I can't stop from starting eating. And when I start eating, I can't stop. So it's a vicious cycle. And if you look at the top of, I think I wrote it down, page XXIX, it talks about the well-known stages of a spree. And for me, that paragraph perfectly sums up what it was like in the food. I would binge and eat until I was beyond full and felt sick and couldn't get anything more in my body. And then normally I'd get a bit more in. And I would wake up in the morning feeling such shame, such horror, disbelief at what I'd done. And I would swear to myself, I'm never going there again. I'm not doing that again. And then literally, if I made it to lunch without doing it, that was a miracle that day, because normally by lunchtime, the cycle had started again. I was in the food. It would increase and increase until by nighttime, I was in full flight binge. And then it would start again. So the well-known stages of a spree. So how do we stop it? I mean, it's simple but not easy. We put the food down. So my sponsor had me figure out really early on, what are my binge foods? She gave me some questions to answer, and it's just about getting really honest with yourself. Like, your sponsor can't tell you, in my opinion, can't tell you what to eat or what not to eat. Like, what is your binge food or what isn't? It's about having that real honesty with yourself about what are the things that when I start eating, I can't stop. So I was guided to have a red list and a green list. Red list is foods that I just can't eat, and green lists are foods that I can. And then I didn't eat the red list. Simple, right? Not easy. So for me, it meant 3 meals a day, no snacks. I would send a food plan to my sponsor. I still do this every day. I send a foods plan at night of what I'm going to eat the next day. And then at the end of the day, I send photos of my food to my sponsor. That's how I started. That's how I still am. And I've been abstinent for about the beginning of January 2022. So over 3.5 years in that now. There's another bit in the doctor's opinion that I feel is really important. It talks about the hospitalization period for the alcoholic whose mind is really befogged, and the importance of getting all the stuff out of our system so we can work the program. And for me, I recreated that hospitalization period. And I guess as for compulsive overeaters, some of us might end up in a hospital or rehab centre for our diseases, but many of us won't. But it's worth thinking in early abstinence, what can I do to put boundaries in to keep myself safe? And my sponsor said to me, are you willing to go to any lengths? And if a doctor said to you that you needed some treatment tomorrow because you had a deadly disease, and the best way of that treatment working was to stay away from other people just for a few weeks till it had settled in, to keep yourself safe, what would you do? And I said, well, obviously I'd do it. This is life or death. And she said, yeah. And you told me that compulsive overeating is life or death for you. So are you willing to go to any lengths? So for me, I just stayed in for a month or so. I didn't go very far. And it was winter. There was COVID around. I'm not saying, I know these things are hard, but for me, I was desperate, 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 desperate. And I was willing to go to any lengths. So I stayed at home. It was hard. It was hard to particularly put down sugar, sweeteners, and anything that looked or acted like sugar, including alcohol. But what I did what I did when I did that was I worked the steps. I followed the suggestions of my sponsor. I picked up the phone. I answered the phone when lovely people from this meeting and others would call me to check in, say hello, welcome me as a newcomer. And I attended meetings. I started conversations with a higher power, and whatever works for you, writing, talking, singing, doesn't matter. And by doing these things, I can honestly, with hands on heart, promise you that there's a beautiful way to live life when we're abstinent and when we're through those first difficult few days and weeks. And you don't need to take my word for it, because the big book is full of promises. So if you look at page 83, it promises a new freedom and a new happiness. And that is really, really available to all of us. And these days, I don't think about food that much. My life is really full. And food is not the main point of it, which I never thought was possible. So the second element is finding God. And for this, I couldn't recommend more highly diving into the chapter We Agnostics. That chapter spoke to my heart and saved my life. And there's especially a line on page 47 that says, when therefore we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God. And there's another line at the bottom of that page that says, it was comforting to learn that we could begin on a simpler level. And for me, those two things sum up everything about finding a higher power. And personally, I was absolutely an atheist. All my life, I've been an atheist. I was very principled, very clear, very sure that there was no God. And I've come to realize that there was a security and a safety in atheism because there's a certainty. You don't have to wonder, you don't have to open your heart or mind to what if. And the full story of that is a story for another time, or call me. I love talking about the God story. But I just let go of the certainty of atheism and began to accept that maybe there was a power greater than me. And for me, that came in the guise of feathers. And I used to see feathers. I still see feathers often everywhere. And I just started to accept that if I let go of that as a coincidence and just accepted them gratefully as gifts from the universe, maybe that was a place to start. And today, a few weeks ago, I don't know if you'll see because I'm on blur, but my fellow gave me this mug that says pause and pray. And for me, that is everything. Because seriously, if you pause and pray in your day and connect to anything that is greater than you, you're going to hear and know on a deep level the next right action. I promise you, if you're standing in front of your fridge and you pause and pray, the next right action is never going to be open your fridge, take out the binge food and go for your life. It's never been that for me. It's always been something around self-care, loving myself, being compassionate. So pausing and praying is what we have to do. And practically that can be just having some stop phrases like your will be done, not mine, or just show me the way, whatever works for you. And then the last element I wanted to talk about was paying it back or paying it forward, as I like to say, and that it's never too early to give service. And actually, if you're in your 5th or 6th meeting of OA, someone in their first meeting would love to hear from you, knowing that you came back for a few days and how it is. And if you're working on step 4, someone on step 1 might really need to hear that hope in your voice that you're getting somewhere in the steps. There are loads of ways to give service. We can go to meetings and read the steps, read the literature that's on the screen. There's loads of small meetings that are desperate for service most of the time. We can learn to be timekeepers. There's a lot of service that often doesn't need a length of abstinence requirement. And then as we grow in recovery and as our abstinence lengthens, our service often grows and we become sponsors, which is an incredible and privileged part for me of being in this fellowship. And I just wanted to say, I remember being so nervous when my sponsor told me I needed to start sponsoring. I was like, no, it's just been a few months. I can't help anyone else. And she insisted, and I started. And what I learned was you don't have to have it all figured out to be a sponsor, which is a good job because I don't have it all figured out now. I have a daily reprieve. I don't have a long-term cure.
2 minutes.
And I can show another person how I've done it. And for me, really, my role as a sponsor is to just gently keep pointing my sponsees back to a higher power. It's tempting to become a higher power, to tell them what to do. And for me, it's not that at all. It's like, have you spoken to God? And one of my sponsees now will call me. She's like, I've spoken to God, so now I'm going to let you know. And I'm like, this is amazing. I've just been able to share that recovery and share some of the things that have worked with us, with other people, has been, an amazing part of my recovery. And so today, this is me living abstinently and in recovery, and life is beyond my wildest dreams. And yes, program takes up quite a lot of time, actually. I go to a meeting a day, I talk to my sponsees, I do outreach, I do my gratitudes, I get up every morning. My favourite part of the day is I give myself an hour. It's a gift of an hour in the morning, normally when no one else is around or up yet. And I do my two-way prayer. I write to my higher power. Sometimes that's the moon, sometimes it's the goddess, sometimes it's the trees, sometimes it's the feathers. It doesn't matter. And I just tell that higher power my problems, ask for guidance, say what's on my mind, and then pause and just write down what comes back. And for me, it's been a beautiful way to stay in conscious contact with my higher power. And that hour really, really sets me up for the day. And the time I take on program is actually nothing compared to the time that I used to spend like planning my binges, buying food, eating food, thinking about food. That was all I ever thought about. It was all consuming. And that's not my truth today. And I decide to live in program instead. Thank you. So I will wrap up there, and really looking forward to hearing from you this morning. Thank you.